Hey guys, Ike here from Mike'sOutdoors.com. Here today to do a review on the Deer Crossing Hunter Series arrow. Okay, so these are the Hunter Series arrows. These are the same ones that I used in my review on the Zinger fletchings. Have had really good luck with these and the Zinger fletchings. Getting really tight, good, consistent groups with these, you know, out to about 40 yards, which is as far as I shoot. Also had really good luck with these getting broadheads to steer. In the Zinger fletchings, I actually put two big Magnus broadheads on here and cut the vanes off of one of the Zinger fletchings. So they do a really good job as far as flight, even with a big broadhead on here. Now these are available in full or half dozen. These are available in no fletching, which I've got here. They're available also in 3 or 4 fletching. You can have these cut to length. These are also available in 300 spine, 350, 400, and 500 spine. And the weights on those I've got written down here. 300 is 8.6 grains per inches, 350 is 8 grains per inches, 400 is 7.7, 500 is 6.9. This arrow that I have right here from carbon to the knock, the valley of the knock, is 27.5 inches, and it ended up weighing right at 336 grains bare like this. So that's the weight on these things. These are available in 1,000th straightness and 6,000th straightness. So that's 0.001 and 0.006 on the straightness on these. These are also available to have the spine alignment on these. You can have a standard or a pin bushing on these. You can get a lighted knock on these. You can get these wrapped. You can get blazer vanes on here. You can get Fusion 2.1 or 3-inch. You can get 2.5-inch feathers on here. You can get field points to come with it. You can get the standard insert with it. You can get a brass insert to go with it to make it a little bit heavier. That brass insert weighs about 50 grains. Or you can also get a glue-in point as well that weighs 80 and 100 grains on those. So these are, that's what I love about these. These are completely customizable. All the things that I do when I build arrows, as far as like spine alignment and the way that I fletch them and wrapping them and cutting them and the different choices of knock and insert, if I want to make these more front forward and or the weight more front forward, or if I want to up the grain weight on these, I can add that wrap to these. I can add that brass insert, and I can up the grain weight, total grain weight on these things by quite a bit by doing that. The spine alignment, the different kinds of vanes on here, the straightness, you know, tolerance on that, you know, plus or minus 0.001. These are all things that I do when I build arrows. So it's really nice to have a company that will make these things exactly the way that I want them. So now we're used to, I would buy just a raw shaft and I would do a lot of different stuff to them to get them to fly the way I wanted and get them to the weight that I wanted and get them to the straightness that I wanted and things like that. And a lot of times you would go through and you would pick out, you know, the weight difference would be different. So on some of them, you know, they might be 336 grains, and on some they might vary all the way to 340 grains. So you buy a couple dozen, you would pick, you know, 6 of them that were perfect, 6 of them that were perfect, and match them up. With this, with Deer Crossing, you don't have to do that. You can get them exactly built to even those tight specifications that a lot of guys out there shoot. So that is a really nice feature of Deer Crossing and a really nice feature of these Hunter arrows. So just a fantastic arrow, one that I've had really good luck with over the years. I actually use the Deer Crossing Archery silencers. They're small diameter arrows, but these Hunters are a fantastic economy priced shaft as well. They're a little bit cheaper than the silencers, depending on the options that you get. So really good shaft, fly really good. Really like the way the company, the customization that the company offers. The other thing that's really impressed me with Deer Crossing arrows over the years is the toughness of the arrows. About the only way that I've ever broke a Deer Crossing arrow is putting it through a punishment test, or when a deer actually, I've hit deer and they actually come up and bring their shoulder up, and that'll break them. Or if I don't get a good penetration and they go through the woods and they're smacking against a lot of limbs. We're gonna go to the target range right now. We're gonna put that to the test. Okay, so we got a real simple test jig set up here. I've already done this a few times and destroyed a few arrows. And basically what I've got is I've got a couple pieces of wood bolted down to the table, and I've got a jack strap up to a beam in my roof that I've got secured in. I've got a scale on here, and we're just going to pull this thing until it breaks. Now I've done this a few times. I broke this one and got this kind of perfected. I broke a few Walmart arrows. Keep in mind, this is an extremely tough test because we're going to be pulling right in the center. Once it gets pulled into these joints, it's going to be basically pulling in a singular point right in the center of this thing. So the Walmart arrows were breaking at about 10 to 12 pounds of pressure. You could barely put any pressure on them, and they were starting to break. That deer crossing arrow that I broke there I got about 19 to 20 on it. So I forgot to push record on that one. So we're going to do it again on this one and see how this one does. And keep in mind, again, this is a really, really tough test on it because we're not flexing it. You know, we're actually just pulling it at a singular point right in the middle to see how much weight it's going to take to break it. So I'm going to put on my welding helmet with the flash, with the grinding mode on, and we're going to see what kind of pressure we can put on this thing. Okay, so helmet down. Let's go see what we can do with this thing. Okay, so on that one we got about 15 pounds on that one. So a little bit stronger than the Walmart arrows. We didn't, like I said, we got about 19 to 20 on this one. So that's a pretty good test on that, and it's a pretty good show of how strong these arrows are to get up to 15 pounds of pull on these things, 15 pounds of weight on these things in such a small location, exactly in the center, and being tied down on each side. You can see that arrow is actually wedged in there now. So 15 pounds of pressure, I'm getting about 15 to 19 pounds of pull on there, and that is very impressive, done better than the Walmart arrows that I got my baseline with. Okay, first up in our destruction test is just a good old piece of plywood. We're going to be shooting this from really close because we want this to be shooting as fast and hard as possible, so we're going to be shooting from about 5 yards away. Okay, plywood's no problem. Let's step it up a notch. Okay, so the next thing we're going to shoot here is my son's pellet gun target. This is just a little flipper pellet gun target. We were shooting it the other day. I seen it out here and I thought, heck, that might be fun to shoot. So we're going to shoot it real quick. Well, that did it. That, I mean, center punched that thing. But it drove that field point back all the way into that arrow. Okay, piece of Schedule 40 PVC. Ah, no problems there. Okay, let's give that another shot. Oh, broke my insert, or broke my knock. Rest of the arrow's fine though. I'll dig that knock out of there and get another one put in it. Don't have a knock in that one either. Well, let's get another knock. Okay, this is probably going to be our last test. That is a small piece of concrete, so we're going to give that a shot. See what it does to the arrow. See there, it's a small piece of concrete that's flaked off. I want to knock again. Destroyed that concrete. Yep, knocked the insert out. Arrow itself's fine now. Let's shoot at something else. Gotta get that insert put back in. Good to go. Okay, I don't know what this is, but this stuff is about 3/4 of an inch thick to an inch thick. And this is probably gonna do. Yeah, it did it. Okay, so after shooting it through plywood to a steel target into Schedule 40 PVC, concrete, and then a 1-inch thick piece of stone of some kind, we destroyed the final arrow. So there's the final arrow that went through the stone. There's the arrow that went through the piece of steel, and that's a piece of hardened steel too, and it pretty much just shoved the insert back into each one. Structurally, the rest of the arrow is still good, so that's pretty impressive as far as strength. And then here are the pieces from what's left of the ones we broke with the jack strap and the weight system. So probably not the toughest arrow I've ever tested. I think that distinction still goes to the deer crossing SD Hunters, but still a pretty darn tough arrow, and overall just one that's going to survive a lot of abuse. I put these 4 arrows through more abuse than what a normal person's going to put them through in a lifetime probably. So very impressed overall with the toughness of these arrows. Very impressed overall with deer crossing arrows. That's why I've been shooting them for so long, is because I'm so impressed with these arrows. I've been shooting these things for, God, I don't even know how long now, 6 years, something like that. And I've still got my original. I ordered 2 dozen of the SD Hunters, and through 6 years of hunting, and I don't know how many deer I've killed in that 6 years, but a lot. You know, I average probably 3 or 4 deer a year. So a lot of deer and a lot of hogs, and I still got 14 of those arrows left. So overall, deer crossing is just a fantastic arrow and a really tough arrow. I like the customization that you can get on the website. Like I said, I can build these arrows on their website and have them do all the work that I would do normally to a dozen arrows that I get. The straightness is really good on both of them. The 1000ths and the 6000ths, both of them are really good straightness tolerances on those, and the weight consistency is very good as well. So definitely check these out. These are the Hunter shafts, and I'm also going to be doing a test on the new silencers, which is a new version of the SDs, and those are probably the ones that I'm going to hunt with. I like the weight on those, and they are just a little bit tougher than these Hunters, at least through the testing that I did with them when they were still the SDs and not the silencers. So we'll test those out next and see what kind of damage we can do to those, and see what kind of consistency we can get out of those. So be sure to check these out. These deer crossing Hunter arrows are fantastic arrows. We'll put a link right in the description below, so be sure to check these out there, and please be sure to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook under Ike's Outdoors. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share these videos. That really does help us out if you do that, and really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch these videos.